Do you remember your first day of junior high school and what it was like? Fast forward, sometimes as we get older, it still feels that way. It feels like we're entering some place for the first time, but we still have the experience of elementary school and we're trying to figure it out. All right, everybody worldwide, you're now tuned into Motivation and Confidence, where we help you do your daily best. And I'm your host, Tom Danger. Back this week with a new episode. So glad that you have tuned in, whether it's on YouTube, where else are we? If you're on Apple, Spotify, what's another big one? Castbox. Shout out to all the people on Castbox. Shout out to my people in the Netherlands. Shout out to the people in the UK, Australia, New York City, the Bronx. I see all of that beautiful analytical information, so I appreciate everyone checking in on a weekly basis. I hope that you're finding the information useful and you are doing your daily best. Now, I know typically on podcasts, people don't really talk too much. People don't really leave comments, but it would mean a lot to me if you guys could, on whatever platform you're on, just leave a comment or leave a rating on the show. Because right now it looks as if I don't exist. Like I have no ratings except for on Apple. I think I do have a few stars there. So whoever did that, thank you. But I just want to build some awareness around the show and let people know that we are legit and that people do find the content useful and interesting. And even if you don't, just express yourself, because even with the information that I receive about what you don't like, it can help me to improve on my delivery. So I'm open for all conversations. Before we go any further, like, subscribe, share, tell a friend. I usually post some clips on Instagram, so if you see it on Instagram, share it. It would mean the world to me. If you're watching it on YouTube, Facebook, share it, leave a comment. I hit everybody back. There is no such thing of me just seeing a comment and not responding to a person, because I really appreciate you taking out your time to check out the podcast. And now we're going to get down to business. And this week we are going to talk about, I don't even know what to title it. So we're just going to get into a story about junior high school. Do you remember your first day of junior high school and what it was like? Like you're coming from elementary school, and some of us have backgrounds that we weren't as fortunate as other people. Some of us were poor. We didn't have the coolest clothes. We didn't have the nicest hairstyles. We didn't have, especially back then, we didn't have the clearest skin. We had acne, going through puberty, and you're trying to figure it all out. And fast forward, sometimes as we get older, it still feels that way. It feels like we're entering some place for the first time, but we still have the experience of elementary school and we're trying to figure it out, right? So I remember my very, very, very first day of junior high school. I went to a junior high school called Joan of Arc, 93rd Street between Broadway and Amsterdam or Columbus, one of those two, right? And this is right after, I was around 14. Middle school here in the States is 7th grade through 9th grade. So my people overseas, I'm not sure if it's the same there, but 7th grade through 9th grade is middle school, or what we call junior high school. So I just, started working, started making a little bit of bread, thought I was kind of fresh, I could actually afford a nice pair of sneakers. I had some black and white shell toe Adidas. Man, I remember this like it was yesterday. I had black and white shell toe Adidas. I had on gray cargo pants with a deep pocket in the side. And they were denim. And then on top of it, or the shirt that I had on, was a burgundy and gray Hawaiian shirt. And then I had a black jean jacket. I thought I was fly. I thought I was killing it, right? And I had my backpack. and I'm walking up the steps in Joan of Arc. And a lot of these schools here in the city, they're built almost like a cathedral. Like there's very high ceilings, very detailed artwork. So I'm walking up in the building. It's sort of like a vestibule type of space, and I see some girls coming down as I'm going in. I guess they were 8th graders because they kind of like gave me that stink face look. They was like, "Ooh," right? And I heard one of the girls say, "Ew, is that how freshmen look now?" Right? And I'm like, "Wow!" Like I'm just starting. I'm feeling super fresh, and I step into the zone, and within minutes, people are already passing judgment. So I let that shake me a little bit. Now, going to school, I don't really know too many people from elementary school that was going to my junior high school. I think just a few. And I never been to the school before. So it's huge. Like that school is huge. When I mean huge, it's like a quarter of a city block. So it's like 2 blocks. So it's basically from 92nd Street to 93rd Street, and then like all of the middle of the block. And like the streets here in New York City, they're pretty long, from avenue to avenue. So it's a pretty large school, and I think it has something like, I don't know, 10, 12 floors. It was something crazy. Freight elevator type situation. It had 2 gyms, multi-levels into the basement, cafeteria. I think that school probably held, I don't know, easily 2,000 kids. Easily. Going through the school, trying to find people that I knew, one, so that I could connect with somebody. And then if I didn't find anybody, it's sort of like in class, again, you walk in class and you start assessing, or you just checking out certain people, how they dress, you checking out how certain people move, who's cracking jokes, who's laid back, who's trying to bully people, and you sort of sizing everybody up. What girls look cute, what girls may give you some vibes, what girls to stay away from because they seem conceited. So you really just looking at the lay of the land to find out where you fit in. And for like that first day, I didn't feel like I fit in at all. Like it just felt like I was in this unknown space. But my clothes made me feel cool. And for those of you who like listen to the podcast, this is something that I struggle with because growing up being teased, you know how it is when people tease you, and then once you get that little bit of confidence, like you just hold on to it. Like you don't want to let it go. And one way, because people judge you on how you look. So if people are judging you on how you look, you can create the facade of being super cool without nobody really knowing because your clothes look good, right? So you can have on, like the girls will wear like Reeboks 5411s. For those of you who know, those are like the soft toe Reeboks that came in all colors. And, girls that have on those with some Levi jeans and like a Gap shirt. Like everybody just thought they was fly. So you're looking at everybody in class. And your clothing allowed you to exude your confidence. Now, when you started talking to people, now not everybody was rocking Gap. Back then, they were rocking Benetton. Some people were slowly getting into Polo, right? Dapper Dan was big when we were growing up, so a lot of people wanted to have Gucci, but the kids didn't have Gucci. But like if you had a Gucci T-shirt, it was like, oh man, like you on a whole nother level. Coca-Cola was another big brand. But again, it's about going into a new territory and trying to find out where you fit in. Where's your voice? What type of people you connect with? And it takes time. So I remember I did wind up bumping into one of my friends from elementary school. His name was Ruben. But Ruben is one of those guys that he's like a people person. So like by the time third period came and I seen him, he had already made friends with a bunch of other people. So it wasn't even like, I was like, yo, what's up? And he was like, yo, this is so-and-so, whoop, 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 whoop. So he was sort of like the connector to get me to know new people in the school. So now I'm like, oh, okay, I know this. But then I bumped into a bully from elementary school. His name was Big Mike. Now, Big Mike is in the school, and Big Mike was still being a bully. You know, it was sort of like whether or not you wanted to be his friend, if he said what's up to you, like you just said what's up back, because otherwise than that, he was just going to press you and be like, I'm taking your lunch money. And you didn't want that type of problem because you didn't want to seem like no punk. So I knew Ruben. I knew Mike. But then I met this guy by the name of Jermaine. And Jermaine was this real cool brother who was into music. And this is when The Great Adventures of Slick Rick had just came out. And I think he was listening to it on his Walkman. Now this is coming back to me clearly. He was listening to it and he's like, run into the cops and shot the DT undercover. You know what I'm saying? Like he was singing that song. Rat-a-tat-tat, and all the cops scattered. Grab the heavy lady and pull out the automatic. So he's singing that. I'm like, yo, that's that new Slick Rick? And he's like, yeah, you like that? That's that, you know what I'm saying? Great Adventures. I was like, yeah. So now I found one dude that's into music. So I start connecting with him. It's like, what you doing for lunch? Whoop, 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 whoop. Yo, we're going to sit at this table over here because this is where, like, everybody that's into music sit down. So I'm like, okay, cool. So as lunchtime come, I'm rolling with Jermaine now. I get to the table with Jermaine. Jermaine introduces me to John. John is another dude that rhymes, you know what I'm saying? And somehow, in some way, throughout the school year, we wind up saying like, yo, let's form this little rap group and we're going to do some talent shows, right? So, again, just being into music, connect with these brothers, and we started rehearsing after school of doing this talent show. Now, the cool thing about being in music was, you know, everybody loved music, right? So it was sort of like, if you was rapping or if you could dance, now automatically your cool factor goes up a little bit because now girls want to be your backup dancers. They want to be looking at you, you know, giving you all kind of vibes. And again, the point of this is finding yourself amongst the crowd. Like, where do you fit in? Now, with all that being said, it's important that you don't want to be just like someone else. So the question is, how do you go about saying true to yourself? Because especially in middle school, everybody is trying to find themselves. And it's sort of like the person who exudes the flyest style or the person who exudes the most confidence, most people look at them and say, well, hey, I guess I'm supposed to move like this. I'm supposed to speak like this because it seems as if people rock with that. And I never did that. I was sort of like the weird guy in the sense of like, yo, how are you into music, but you get good grades? I guess there was a connotation like if you into music, you're supposed to be stupid, or you're supposed to be the tough guy that's like not into your grades and into your class. You just into doing music and street stuff. And I think as we get older, you sort of get lost in this exact same story of when you're going out into the world and you enter a new place and you're meeting new people all over again. If you haven't had a solid foundation of who you are from middle school, and this may be going back, but thinking about how you enter new places, how you interact with new people, how you feel about yourself and being judged, then when you get older, you find yourself right back in that same situation of trying to be like, man, how do I fit in here? Like, what am I supposed to do? And then you start thinking like, well, if I get that car, then she's going to like me. Or if I have this type of job, people are going to, you know, accept me more. But then what about you deep down inside? Like, how do you really feel? I remember one time I heard Chris Rock saying to somebody about how to become a great comedian. He was saying that one of the ways that you can become a great comedian is to literally detach yourself from everybody for 1 year. Like, no TV, no social media, no, for us, no culture in the US, and just go somewhere and just really be with yourself. Because once you're with yourself, you really get the vibes of what you like, what you don't like, what your values are, what your principles are, and how you stand for that, and you communicate it with yourself until you believe it. Because all that this is you creating that inner being in your head that says, this is who I am, and this is how I'm going to move. And I'm not a comedian, even though some people may think I'm funny, but I think that it's true that we must always take time to, even though we enter into new places and meet new people, you always have to make that time to self-assess who you are and how you feel about particular things without interruption. Without interruption. We're not giving it a title of what it should look like or how you should do it, but there's that time and solitude that you must spend to deepen yourself. I'm curious to know what you think. Tommy, you bugging out. Tommy, you on point. Leave it in the comments, right? And if you don't feel comfortable leaving it in the comments, please send me an email. Tommy Danger, TOMMYDANGER@gmail.com. And also, if I didn't mention, we are also going to be doing a free creativity workshop, which will show you basically how to take one piece of footage, such as this that we're doing right here, one piece of footage, and break it out into 5 to 7 days worth of content over Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Pinterest, and if you want to get kind of crazy with it, TikTok. So if you want to learn how to do that, leave your information in the flow page, and we definitely gonna get into that. This is Motivation and Confidence, where we help you do your daily best.